Welcome, everybody, to the second part of Centered and Steady Core and Balance for Positive Aging, hosted and presented by Jewel Lane. My name is Lindsay Reichert. I am the Director of Wellness Initiatives here at Friends Life Care. We are happy for you to be joining us today for the second part of a virtual workout. Before we begin, I would just like to go over a few housekeeping items as always. On the bottom of your screen, you will notice a taskbar. On that bar, you will see the letters Q&A with two little bubbles. We encourage you to put any questions you may have in the Q&A box. Our presenter will answer the questions at the end of today's session. At the far right of your taskbar of your screen, you will see two little C's. That will enable closed captioning. If you don't see that icon, click on the three dots and you should be able to pull up closed captioning from there. Feel free to turn that on if you feel that it is helpful. Before I introduce Jules once again, please remember to contact your medical team prior to introducing any new exercise routine and be safe throughout the class, taking breaks and modifying as needed. We're thrilled to have Jules back for the part 2 of this virtual workout series, so I will turn this over to Jules.
Thank you, Lindsay. Welcome or welcome back if you were here 2 weeks ago. This exercise session will include some seated chair work, so I recommend getting a chair set up if you don't already have one. We will be standing with chair being the piece of balance, like you could hold on to it like a ballet bar situation. So I do recommend your chair being completely stable, and a portion of our exercise will be laying down on your back. So carpet or some type of mat is recommended for maximum comfort. So go ahead and get those items collected if you do not already have them. And I would love to share a little bit of information with you before we get started. So last time, if you were here, we did quite a bit of work seated and standing with some weights to get familiar with how standing exercises and balance have an impact on creating functional strength in the body. This will both build on that previous exercise, but use some different ways and relationships to gravity to build strength from the inside out. Essentially, we will be working with our powerhouse muscles the entire time. Many people think of just their core as the abdominals. So this little picture of this person on the left, many people just think of the red at the very top. They think of their six-pack muscles, maybe a little bit of low belly strength. The powerhouse is where the magic comes from when we're doing any type of core exercise. It is not just what we think of as our abdominals, but it is the entire abdominal world of what we call the trunk of the body. So really anything from the shoulders down towards the glutes in the front of the body and the back of the body. And you can use your hands as a really good tool as we get to know some of these muscles. So I'll have you try to take your hands to the front of the stomach and imagine you could embrace your core like you're protecting yourself. Like if you were about to catch a ball and you didn't want the ball to hit your stomach, what would you do? You'd brace the core. That would be your transverse abdominis and your rectus abdominis. The rectus abdominis is that six-pack muscle. So even if it's not visible on your body, you still have those 6 abdominal muscles working together to keep your spine upright. Your transverse abdominis is the low belly muscles. And I just want you to get familiar with these muscles so when we are using them, you generally know where they are. But it's okay if it doesn't resonate immediately, you don't have to memorize this. The pelvic floor and glutes are a huge part of the powerhouse that is often forgotten. You can engage your pelvic floor muscles by imagining that you're stopping the flow of gas or urine, and that is how we get familiar with the entire pelvic floor muscle area. Your back muscles are extremely important in this. That is what keeps your spine erect without gravity having a big impact on us. So throughout our life, gravity makes us shrink a little bit. Gravity is always pushing down on us. So a big use of the core and a benefit of strengthening your core is not letting gravity push against us so we can stay lifted in the spine. Part of my background hugely is Pilates. And I will say the man that invented Pilates, Joseph Pilates, his entire regime of exercises is for spine health. So not only is it important to keep your strength in your core so we can lift things, so we can bend, so we can twist appropriately and pain-free, but the entire idea behind engaging the core and the powerhouse is that we can keep a healthy spine, right? And he used to say, you're only as young as your spine feels. So a lot of my work through posture, through core engagement, and through properly interacting between your muscles of the powerhouse is to keep spine healthy, right? So we have obliques on the side of our body, which you will be feeling at points, and I'll tell you when you should be feeling some of these muscles and when some of them should be doing less work or more work. And one important part is the diaphragm that we simply engage through breath. So it does happen automatically. And I would like to practice this breath with you right here and right now, telling you why it matters and why it's so important. In your exercise, it is recommended that your inhale is the preparation for the hard part of the exercise. The exhale is known as the superpower. When you can release all your air, you're able to squeeze your muscles tighter and get the most out of the exercise. And I'll remind you when we're doing this actively so you know what that feels like and you can make the most out of the exercises we're doing. So a good way to feel this happening is to know that your ribs actually move, right? Like a lot of our bones, our hips, our skull, it doesn't expand or contract. The ribs are special because they do move with us as they breathe. They need to make room for the lungs and the diaphragm to move within our body. So if you were to take your hands to your rib cage, so not your belly, the soft part, but the actual place you might be able to feel your bones. If you inhale fully, you will feel your ribs expand out to the side. And you can try it with me. As you exhale, you'll feel your ribs hug in, almost like there's a belt around your waist, and those ribs can hug in a little closer. So just try that 2 or 3 times at your own pace. The inhale physically opens the ribs a little bit wider. And the very beginning of your core engagement is that exhale of squeezing the ribs in, hugging the low stomach in gently without force. You're not trying to suck it in, you're hugging it in with control. Try it again if you need to, and it's okay if it doesn't resonate immediately. It will help to do these exercises as we move through, right? So the exhale helps protect those muscles and those bones. The exhale is when we get the most out of the exercise. So I will be cueing you through a lot of breath. You can go as slow or as fast as feels appropriate for you to focus on how the breath can impact your movement. There's a couple of bony landmarks that we can learn, just like the ribs, that's a bony landmark that we know opens and closes. There's a couple more that will help you have the proper form and get the most out of the exercises. You may have heard of your sit bones, your ischial tuberosity. There are those little protrusions underneath the bum that when you're sitting straight up in a chair, you might be able to feel, and we'll explore this. In this little picture here, you see that the first person is leaning forward. If you look at that pelvic structure at the bottom, those sit bones point a little bit forward towards the front of the chair. This is not your neutral pelvis. The second person is leaning forward with a little back bend, right? So those bones point back slightly. This is also not your neutral pelvis. Ideally, in a perfect world, if we're sitting up straight, we sense our sit bones directly downward into the chair. So you can even try it right here a little bit to rock your pelvis forward and rock your pelvis back. Lean in, almost like a baby cat-cow, leaning your chest in and out. And can you feel your hips and glutes move with that? We're looking for those little bones that help us sit up straight. And this will let us get the most out of our exercises and create the foundation for optimal posture through the rest of your day Even when you're at the grocery store, you're doing your laundry, folding clothes, everyday tasks like this can be a little stronger and a little better with intentional movement like we're doing today.
Joel, someone asked, the shoulders don't go up and down, right?
Correct. The shoulders might move just by instinct, but this is purely about the pelvis. Good question. The body's connected, so even when we lean forward, the shoulders might move forward, but we're looking more for almost like you could stick your bum out, or you could tuck your tail a little bit, or almost like a seatbelt clicking into place. You can stand up a little taller and find your optimal pressure. So that first picture of that person sitting looks like that. The second picture is the person sitting a little like that. Optimally, we'll be right in the middle in a neutral place. Hopefully that helps. Good question. The spine and the pelvis are two different parts of the body, though they work intimately together. You can see in this picture here, the first one, A, is just a nice straight line of the spine. That being said, the spine does have a little curvature in it, so it's impossible to be perfectly straight. We don't want that. The spine has shape for a reason. But when we are looking for neutral pelvis and neutral spine, we can see that everything's in its proper line. That second picture, the spine is imprinting onto the floor a little too much, and this creates some back pressure for most people. This isn't where we ideally want to practice our abdominal exercises. That last picture, you could almost drive a little toy race car underneath the spine a little too high, right? So we don't want this position in our abdominal work because our core can't properly stay engaged the whole time. So we can even try this later. You don't want the total imprint of the spine, and you don't want the big back bend where you could drive a toy race car underneath your back. That number one picture, you might be able to put like a little pencil underneath the back, and that's a good amount of curve, but you don't want the whole toy race car to go underneath. They've done a lot of research recently that says if we have this neutral spine, then your core engagement and your core strength will be stronger, and you will build your abdominal strength very much quicker than you would if you were doing the improper movement of your spine. Okay, so before we get moving, and if you have any questions or clarifications, please send those in. It's recommended to either be barefoot, to use grippy socks, or wear sneakers for these exercises for maximum stability. I love using a carpet or a mat instead of the hard floor, just so our bones are more comfortable. When we're laying down, you are welcome to use a pillow under your head for most of the exercises, but I will tell you when that pillow is not safe and when you should take it out. Try to listen more to my voice if you can, rather than watching the screen, if you can follow along with the verbal cues when you're laying down, so you don't have to turn your head side to side. Avoid anything that your doctor has not cleared you for or does not feel right. This is all about empowering the body, not forcing the body into positions that it's not comfortable or doesn't feel important to be in. We will be moving from seated to standing to laying, so do not rush. It is better to take your time, especially if you experience dizziness getting up and down. So it's okay if you miss like a second of the video. Just try not to rush yourself from those transitions. Please make sure your chair is secure. We want to practice with curiosity and self-empowerment as our focus, not judging ourselves or getting mad for what we can or can't do. And I do want to say this is osteoporosis and disc safe. That being said, I will give many different options to keep things a little more gentle if you want, or to fire it up if you feel comfortable and safe enough to take a little more advanced progression. Okay, so we'll get started seated in our chair to start. Take your time to get there. All right. And Lindsay, let me know if there's any questions.
There was one question that says, what can we do to avoid our body pitching forward when we walk? And we can answer that at the end too, if you want.
Oh, yeah, that's a great question. I'll answer partially some of that while we're exercising, and we'll go over that at the end. That's a great question.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, so start seated in your chair. As we talked about last time, if you were here, it's important to feel equal weight on both of your feet. We'll begin moving the spine in the 6 different ways that it moves, which will help wake up our internal core muscles, as well as loosen up the spine, especially on a freezing cold day like this. We'll begin with a cat-cow. Place your hands on your lap. As you inhale, try to stick your bum out, open up your ribs, and lift your chest forward. You don't have to crank your neck at the sky, but you might look at where the corner of the wall and the ceiling meet. On your exhale, I like to pull on my knees, lean back a little bit, and if you have any disc issues, make this small. Tuck your tail between your legs, chin towards chest. I'll do it from the side so you can see a different angle. Inhale, it's that back bend. My sit bones are pointing back and my heart is lifting up on a diagonal. As you exhale, hug your abdominals in. It's a little rounding of the spine. The pelvis rolls forward, my sit bones roll forward, and I might even pull on my knees a little bit. Let's try it at your own pace, right? So inhale is expansion. We're creating space in the stomach. Exhale, we're creating a contraction in the stomach muscles to round the spine. Hug your little waistband around your low belly. Find your transverse abdomen. Try it a couple more times and you never have to go at my pace, whatever pace feels natural. The important thing here is to notice that your pelvis, your spine, and your neck are all moving. They are separate parts of the body, but they are intimately connected. By moving all parts of these parts of your spine, we can create more fluidity and a little lubrication for the joints. Okay, so that's numbers 1 and 2, how the spine moves. Numbers 3 and 4, we will laterally bend. Place your hands somewhere on your shoulders, maybe your hips. We're looking for comfort, not force. We're leaning to one side. Push your feet down so you have balance. As you exhale, squeeze your open side ribs together to come back up. So it's a little core exercise. You should be feeling engagement. Inhale, lean over to the other direction. Ribs open like an accordion. Exhale, squeeze the ribs closed. You can use your feet for support. So this is your basic gentle level. Hands can help you support. Hands might be feeling that engagement, your obliques, your side body muscles working with you. Feet might be really planting to help. If you want to pump it up a notch, maybe hands behind the head if that's comfortable. Shoulders aren't in ears for this part. Shoulders are in a neutral place. Inhale, lean. Exhale, feel the squeeze of your side body muscles. It might feel a little shaky. It's okay as long as there's no pain. And if you're going to the most advanced, maybe arms reach out to the side. It's more advanced because we're simply carrying a little more weight through the arms being extended. The farther away the arms here, the more weight that we distribute through space. Okay, so let's try a couple more. It's not about how far you dip. It's about how lifted the spine can stay in your dip. So instead of collapsing and getting really small, we want to move anti-gravity the whole time and stay long in the spine. This is really, really great for creating resilience in the body. When you're talking about walking and posture that you're walking with in your gait, the more supple the spine is, the more freely we can move in daily activities. Okay, so last 2 ways to move the spine are rotations and twists. Option 1, hands can stay on legs for a little more gentle. Option 2, hands behind the head if that feels comfortable in the shoulders. Sit up tall so you're not leaning forward. So this is a little bit of practice for walking. As you exhale, rotate your chest towards one side of the room that you're in without letting your legs do anything funky. Come through center on your inhale. We exhale as we twist so we can engage the belly muscle slightly towards the back body. Find your sweatpants waistband. Inhale, come through center. That's your relaxation and your prep. Your exhale is the work. Release all of your air. Hug your stomach back. Inhale, come through center. If you like the body awareness, you can take your hands to your stomach and ribs. Notice the ribs flaring on the inhale. As you exhale, notice your ribs knitting together in the front of your body, like you could wrap a band around your waist. So try this on your own. You can go as slow or as fast as your body seems appropriate here. As always, we're trying to keep the spine lifted and your sit bones pointing down. So if you sense yourself leaning forward or if you sense yourself leaning back, can we find an axis that your spine is to your body? Let your head follow. Your priority is opening through the center of your chest. So it's not about swinging the arms to twist. It's not about cranking the head to twist. It's about the entire shoulders and rib cage rotating around your spinal column. Just take one more here. Nice job. This is a great way to warm up the body for any exercise, any walk, to help the body move a little more freely. And hopefully already you can feel a little freer. Go ahead, take some shoulder rolls. You can do one at a time or two at a time. And let your shoulders move in the opposite direction very freely, finding full range of motion here. We'll move into a hip stretch, more gentle. You'll take one foot and cross it over the opposite ankle, allowing the knee to open. Some of you might already feel a stretch in your side glute, part of your powerhouse, and maybe the side of the leg. If you need more, you can lean back in your chair, cross your ankle all the way over your knee, and we'll do a little press of the thigh down and a release of the leg up. This method is called press release. You're using the strength of your leg to press down. We should feel the glute engaging, your bum muscles. Inhale, release. If you need a little more sensation here, you'll sit towards the edge of your chair. Take your spine in that upright axis. Hands on the legs, maybe a little fold forward. I like to flex my ankle and use the strength of my leg, not the strength of my arm, to press the leg down towards the ground. Not going to get there, but just a directional thing. And let's switch to the other side. Left and right are always different, so you don't have to take the same variation. I like to start gentle, ankle over ankle. Notice if this is enough. Maybe you want to stay here. Some of you might lift or help the leg up over that thigh. Leaning back in your chair will give you a little more give, a little more forgiving. Leaning forward slightly. And remember, we're leaning from the pelvis. Like you can stick your sit bones back. We're not leaning from the chest. This is spinal movement, which we try to avoid. This is pelvic movement, which will help us gain posture and walking properly through the rest of your life. Couple more breaths here. Maybe you take that press release. Exhale, press. You're engaging the leg. You can feel some hip flexors, some quad. Inhale, you let it relax. This will help mobilize the bones and the structure of your pelvis. Good. Just one or two more here. No rush to get there. Nice job. Okay. So when we're talking about leaning forward when we're walking, I'll do this from the side. You don't have to turn. Typically, it could be because the hip flexors are a little less strong than we want them to be, or a little tighter than we want them to be. So a good way to strengthen the hip flexors and strengthen the glutes is by marching in place. The goal isn't to get your knee really high, because if you notice, the higher my knee goes, the more my posture goes. The goal is to sit up tall. And yes, you can use your hands on the chair to support you. Lift one knee and then the other. We did this a couple weeks ago, but today will be a little different because we are focusing more on posture. Okay, if you have any discomfort in the hips, you can try one or two things. Maybe the knee goes a little wider rather than straight up, right? So we'll lift almost like you're half butterflying out to the side, knee toward shoulder. Or some of you might try knee towards the opposite shoulder. This strengthens different part of the hip joint. We have different ways the legs can rotate, which gives us freedom, the ability to pivot. Moving straight up will strengthen the very center of the hips. Moving out to the side will strengthen a little more of the outer glutes. Internal rotation, moving towards the opposite shoulder, will help strengthen the inner hip. Right? So all three are really great. It just depends on what feels more important and more accessible to you. So you can choose, you can even switch it up a little bit. Some of you, if you're feeling a little more fiery, might draw a full circle of the leg. Some of you might try to straighten the knee, which will make it a little more hip and quad forward. So I love to give you options, and then you have the power to choose your options. Right? And that's what gives us empowerment in our movement. Which one feels appropriate for you? Can you let it be almost like a dance? Your body's leading you in that direction because it feels good and it feels important. You're not forcing yourself to do it. Let it feel organic. So either a couple lifts, couple circles, maybe a straighten and bend of the leg before we move on. Can you keep the chest tall? Shoulders ideally right over the hips instead of leaning forward or back, which you can use your arms to support. Abdominals are hugging in and you are letting your breath flow. Okay, just about one more and then we'll make our way up to standing. You can shake out your legs, maybe a little windshield wiper or a butterfly just to help loosen up the joint after that bit of exercise. As you're ready and take your time, we'll come to standing. You don't have to move the orientation of your chair, but I will just so we have a nice view. Stand behind your chair, both hands on the back, making sure there's equal weight in both of your feet to start. Different relationship to gravity, so breath is going to feel a little bit different. Hands to the rib cage just to practice breath. Inhale, feel your ribs expand laterally, left to right. Exhale, hug the abdominals in. Front of body, back of body, and side of body squeezes. One more. Inhale, it's 360 degrees of breath moving out. Exhale, that balloon loses a bit of air and we squeeze in. Good. This is how we learn how to engage the glutes and the core as a team. So this is the full powerhouse working in this next exercise. Both hands can be on the chair. We lean forward slightly, but you'll notice I'm leaning from the hips. So instead of reaching down from the spine and letting my head get heavy, my head is perfectly still on the pedestal, ideally, and we lean from the hips forward, just a little bit, not too much. Take all the weight to your left foot. Send your right leg back behind you. Hug the abdominals up and in. So this is transverse abdominis, hugging the belly in slightly. Your back muscles, your posture muscles are helping you stay in one straight line from crown of head down to the toes. Lift your back leg up, flex your foot, go ahead, bend your knee like you're kicking yourself in the bum. Straighten your leg, point the toe, tap the earth down. So it's a pattern. Leg lifts, flex foot, kick yourself in the bum, Straighten the leg, point the toe, tap the earth gently. Please take breaks as needed if your left leg starts to get a little crampy or feels like it's working too hard. We can take a moment and readjust. This is work for both legs. Some of you might be asking, why do I feel this mostly in the leg that's not moving? This is a strengthener for your glute medius, which is the side of the glute muscle in your standing leg. Your right leg, we're working mostly hamstring and a little bit of glute maximus, which is almost the underneath of your bum muscle. The form mistake I usually see people making is trying to open their hips out to the side here. I want you to pretend that your hip points are headlights pointing straight into your chair instead. We won't be here forever. We're moving slow with control on purpose. It's the Pilates way, that you're not looking for 100 reps. You're not looking for cardio or speed. You're looking for precision, control, engagement in the core by lifting the abdominals up, and engagement in the glutes to hold the body upright. Okay, so next time foot comes down, we'll pause. I like to take hands to hips, feet wide, wave the hips side to side. Even if it looks a little silly, you can do a little hula hoop with your hips, and that will rest and stretch those places that we just worked. So both directions. Notice if you can feel your feet underneath you equally here. We'll do that same thing on the other side. You don't have to switch the orientation of your chair. You can just switch legs. Right leg is standing tall. We pay attention to foundation for a reason. We lean forward slightly. The core is lifting up. So dual actions. The back is getting a little heavier, but the core is getting a little bit lighter. All your weight to your right foot. Left leg reaches back, pointed toe. Squeeze the glute as you lift. Flex. Try to kick yourself in the bum with your heel. It's not going to make it there. Straighten the leg. Keep the thigh in the same spot. Point your toe. Pretend the floor is lava as you prick and lift right back up. You might invite a little soft bend of your right knee without bending it too much, maybe 2%, just to keep engagement and energy flowing through that right leg. I'm not a fan of the term micro bend. We're more so trying to engage the right thigh, almost like you're trying to protect your right thigh in the front. Can you keep that left thigh as high as your body's willing to stay when you're bending and straightening the leg? And you might notice this leg might be fatiguing faster or slower. No reason to judge or overanalyze. It's more of a curiosity, just becoming aware. Body awareness is a huge piece of gaining strength. So we'll stay here for just a couple more. Please take breaks, grab water as needed. Can you sense the whole right foot pressing down? Your leg is your stable piece. You have all your body weight on that one leg. That means the stronger the leg is, the more we can lift the spine, the more we can pull the stomach muscles back. Okay, so last one here. When that foot drops, we'll ground both feet about hips distance, hands to the hips. Allow yourself to rock side to side and take those hula hoop swings of the hips. Notice the distribution of the weight of your feet. Sense the hips move freely, almost knowing that the spine and the hips are so connected, they move together with control. Okay, and we'll go for some mini squats here. One hand to the chair, face your camera towards me so you can see. Take your toes wide. Notice how your knees and your toes are facing the same direction. I like to start heels in line with my shoulders. If you need to wiggle your feet closer or wider for more comfort, please know that you can do so. From the front, it will look like you're sitting down in a chair, letting your knees point out over the toes. As you exhale, squeeze your bum, push the floor down with your feet so we can come back up. Inhale, sink down, slow with control. Exhale, hug the abdominals in, squeeze your ribs together and lift back up. I want you to go slow with this. Inhale down, try not to grip your toes on the earth if you can help it. Exhale, press through your feet and lift back up with control. This is your foundation. If you would like to pump it up a couple of notches, you have some options. Option 1, maybe you take some balance into it with hands to heart center. Spine stays straight, we're not leaning forward, especially if hands are off the chair. Option 2, if you're feeling really excited and you want more fire and you feel comfortable and safe to go low, you might use your chair as a guide for your squat. Can your bum just tap the chair and the floor is level, lift right back up before we can give any weight? So it's optional. You can lean forward slightly as long as you're not rounding in the spine. This will help your posture walking, standing, doing daily chores, or even driving if we can keep the spine upright. We know that the hips and the core are intimately connected. When we squeeze the glutes, we engage the pelvic floor like you're stopping the flow of gas or urine. We're hugging the abdominals in. Inhale, ribs open up and the hips get heavy. Your thighs are doing work. Exhale, your glutes do the work to keep yourself upright. And it's interesting, there's so many ways to do squats. When you lean forward, you'll feel slightly different muscles, mostly in the thigh and the quads. When you're leaning back, if you're holding onto a chair and you feel like the chair is stable, you can test this one out. You'll mostly feel the posterior chain, the glute muscles, and the back body. So let's do one more of these before we come down to the ground. Maybe you hold at the bottom an extra second. Press through your heels, not your toes, and come up. Good. Everybody, let's shake it out. Maybe you shake out one leg and then the other, holding onto a chair for balance if it feels more stable. We'll come down to the ground now. Take your time. I'll show you my favorite back safe way to get there. Just going to tilt my camera down. Okay. So as you find your way down to the ground, can you keep your back straight? Instead of rolling down, it's recommended to lay down on your side like so. Then roll yourself directly onto your back. Bend your knees, plant your feet on the earth. And I want you to notice if you could maybe do a little pencil underneath your back, not that whole toy race car. This will give us our neutral spine. We'll begin some pelvic movement by finding that little race car ability. My spine is lifted off the ground slightly. My pelvis is rolling forward. As you exhale, try to imprint your low back so you can feel your backbones on the ground, almost like you're about to do a bridge, but not a bridge. Inhale, lift your back off the mat slightly so you could drive a tiny little toy race car underneath your spine. Hips stay down. As you exhale, squish that pocket of air no race car could drive through. Hips lift just a little, hover off the ground. Okay, now find that place right in the middle. This is your neutral spine. Almost like you could balance a full glass of water right on the front of your pelvis, and it wouldn't spill forward, it wouldn't spill back. This is a great time to grab your pillow if you have it. You're welcome to put it under your head, only if it's comfortable and not cranking your head up. We want chin to be comfortably in line. Place your hands down on the ground, or if you would like more back support, I really like taking my hands underneath the back of my pelvis. This will help maintain your neutral spine if you wish your core was a little stronger. And we'll get there, coming right to the tippy toes. You might even notice your core muscles need to engage to keep the feet light. Hug the abdominals down towards the ground and in towards the center line of your body. Lift your right leg off the ground, almost like it's a little tabletop of the shin. You could balance that water on your right shin. Let your toe dial down on your inhale so it just pricks the floor in line with your left toe. On your exhale, scoop that right leg back up where it came from. It's okay if it's a little shaky. We've been here on the chair before. Now we're doing it with a different relationship to gravity. Inhale, taps down. Exhale, lift the leg back up. Just stick with your right leg for a moment. I want you to think of a couple of important things. Can you keep a right angle behind your knee? So your right leg becomes parallel to your left leg instead of just tapping the ground by bending the knee more. I want your low belly muscles, that transverse abdominis, to be the one doing the most work. It just so happens that the leg is the weight that your core is lifting, so your leg can move up and down. This is how we can know the pelvic floor, the hips, and the core are intimately connected as parts of the powerhouse. Good. Now we'll switch. So next time right leg comes down, you can bring the full weight of the foot down if you need a break, or stay on the tippy toe. Just your left leg lifts and lowers. And if you can take a peek at your left knee, can you make sure there is a right angle in that knee the whole time? I want you to try to sync your breath with the movement. Inhale on your way down. The top of the inhale is when you prick your toe down. Use the whole exhale. It can be audible to lift back up. As we were in the chair, we're lifting and lowering the leg, using the belly strength to support us. If your hands are underneath your back and that feels comfortable, stay there. If your hands are not underneath your back, you might take your hands to your stomach muscles. On that exhale, can you feel the belly contract, the engagement of your stomach by pulling navel in towards spine and closing the ribs shut? So the ribs aren't flared open here like a back bend. Ribs stay knitted in. You can even touch your two bottom ribs and make sure they're staying close together. Nice job, everybody. Last one, we'll land that toe down towards the ground. Take your feet wide. We'll stretch it out between the exercises. Let both knees dial over to the right like a windshield wiper. Doesn't matter how low you go. Use that core engagement of your obliques and side bodies to let your knees floss over to the other side. So we are not twisting the back, we are twisting the hips. This is a back safe exercise since we're not rotating the spine with force. We're using our hip muscles, we're using that side body engagement, obliques, to let the knees rock right and left. If you would like to stay here for the gentle and the stretch, just stay. Otherwise, we'll make it a little more oblique focused by lifting both legs up to that tabletop position. And yes, hands can come underneath the back if it feels supported, or hands can press down on the ground next to you like a door frame. We're twisting the legs and hips, not the spine. As you inhale, legs topple over towards the right just a little bit, not until you fall over, but it's okay if you do. As you exhale, use your left side body muscles to bring the legs back through center. Inhale, let your legs collapse over towards the left just a couple inches until your right hip starts to lift. Exhale, use your right side body to come back through center. Hands underneath this pelvis will be a really good aid for support to make sure you don't go too far. But if it does feel safe to not have your hands underneath the back, I love putting my hands on my side body muscles, my obliques, so I can feel the effort. There's something very empowering to feeling the muscles work. We call it muscle to mind. Knowing how they engage, knowing how just moving the legs and the hips can help strengthen your core and powerhouse. Let's just do 2 more here. Then we have 1 or 2 more exercises. Good. Can the face stay relaxed? Sometimes that's the hardest part. Can the shoulders stay relaxed? Because they're not the ones in charge of working. They're just heavy like an anchor. And as you're ready, take both feet down to the ground. Keep your left foot down on the earth. This will be our last supine core exercise. Extend your right leg up to the sky. It does not have to be perfectly straight. Go ahead and flex your toes back towards your face. You might get a nice little hamstring stretch there. As you inhale, float that right leg down either halfway or a little more than halfway. As you exhale, hug the abdominals in, squeeze your ribs together, and lift the leg back up. As you inhale, the belly gets a little softer as we float the legs down. As you exhale, the belly contracts. We have energy. The exhale is the superpower. Leg lifts back up. And we'll repeat a couple times. You choose your pace. Leg does not have to be low. Inhale down. If you want to get fancy, point your toe on the way back up. That will help you find length in your leg muscles. So flex on the way down. If it gets confusing, you can skip that part. As you exhale, point your toe, use your stomach muscles to lift back up. We're aiming for neutral spine the whole time instead of a cat-cow here. If you want to pump it up for your last couple, and this part's optional, maybe you come to tippy toes of left foot so you have less foundation and core has to work harder. Or if some of you are really excited, maybe left leg is fully off the ground. If it creates strain in your back, stop and reassess. Put your left foot back down on the ground instead. Your arms can be full of power here, whether they're underneath your body or pressed down by your sides. Take your left foot down if it's lifted, followed by your right. We'll open and close just right leg a couple of times to let the hip flexor relax after the work. And we'll take it to the other direction. Right leg stays down, left leg up to the sky. Flex your ankle, same exercise. You know where we're going. Inhale, float maybe halfway, an inch or a little more. Exhale, option to point your toe and lift back up. The challenge for you today is to go slower on the way up than the way down. This ensures that the core is working just as hard as the hips. It's normal to feel the hip flexors work because they are a huge part of this exercise. But the foundation of finding our powerhouse is knowing the core and the hips work together as a team. We're not just dumping all of our energy into the hips. We're using our core to support the whole leg. Maybe it's hands on stomach to feel the engagement. Maybe it's right tippy toe, hardly any weight in the foot to make the core work a little harder. Maybe it's right leg lifted. You choose your pace. We only have a few more here before our final exercise. Keep the head relaxed. Feel your skull staying heavy. Trying not to look either way to take pressure off the neck. And next time you're finished with this round, right foot comes down, followed by the left. This is the time to take your pillow out if you had it for our last exercise. Allow your left leg to bend in and out just for a little bit of rest for the hip flexor. Final exercise will be bridges. They can be small, they can be big, whatever feels important in your body. Plant your feet on the earth, ideally toes pointing forward so we can access the whole glute as a unit, but toes out is fully appropriate if that's more comfortable. Arms press down on the ground, shoulders plug into your earth or the mat. Press down through both feet to lift your hips, and no pillow for this one in case it's still underneath your head. Inhale, lower down, try to relax the muscles of your glutes and your bum. Exhale, squeeze your glutes and lift up. Inhale, float your hips down and release. Gaze towards the ceiling, not towards the side, so you can take pressure off your neck. Some of you might even try to lift your toes off the ground to ensure pressing through your heel. When we press through the heel, we get the most out of that glute. Okay, we're almost finished here. We just have 3 more. Nice, everybody. Arms relaxed. For 2. And as our last piece of this exercise, we'll hold at the top. Find your last bridge, hug your ribs in together, squeeze your core, squeeze your glutes, maybe hips lift 1 more centimeter for 3, and then we're finished for the day. For 2, good, and the last one, release your hips down, wiggle your feet wide. We'll take 1 more set of windshield wipers to stretch out the back, stretch out the hips. Maybe arms out to a low V shape with palms facing down. Maybe cactusing your arms like goalpost if that feels comfortable on the shoulders to gently stretch the pecs, chest, and rotator cuff. Now let your legs stay still and gently rock your head to the right like you're shaking it no, and then head to the left like you're shaking it no. Take deep, full breaths into your belly, through your nose. Exhale out the mouth. And just send yourself a nice note of gratitude for all the effort you put in. Maybe something you did today that was a little challenging that you stuck through. Or being honest with yourself and skipping something that didn't feel good. All of those things are worth lots of congratulations. Roll to one side. Use the strength of your arms to press yourself back up to a seat, and we'll begin our Q&A portion. So find a seat that's comfortable, find a position that's comfortable. And my challenge to you for the next few minutes we're together is trying to keep that spine upright now that we loosened everything. So wonderful job, everybody. If you have any questions or comments, you can go ahead and share them, and Lindsay and I will get those answered for you. Thanks so much for joining.